Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Pytel with VASS. Welcome to another episode of our podcast focused on lead to cash and action, where we sort of dive a little bit deeper than just the marketing material and really discuss how do we implement these solutions and what are we going to learn from them. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Sheldon.
Good Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me again, Michael. Sheldon Lipschitz, the Senior Director of Solution Engineering at VASS.
Fantastic. And today we're joined by a repeat guest, Ian McCallum. Ian, if you could give yourself a quick intro for those.
You bet. Nice to see you again, Michael. Nice to see you again, Sheldon. So Ian McCallum, part of the SAP AI go-to-market team, been in or around SAP for 25 years, primarily on the technical product side, some project experience. Now I have probably the best job around. I get to help our customers understand our AI portfolio and how they might use it to solve problems that they're facing.
Yeah, it is the most talked about area.
Yeah.
The last couple of quarters. And SAP has new SKUs that you can talk about. We've seen a lot of different announcements at TechEd most recently, right, with the release of the ABAP model and the RPT1 model that SAP is coming out with. So an incredible pace of new innovations that we get to consume. But today we're talking about lead to cash and action, right? So what AI in motion, how does AI support this? Is it going to help everyday work get smarter? And to kick things off, I want to just talk about pain points that we know or that we see our customers encountering. And that is, I had the monolithic ERP and I'm now maybe moving to a cloud ERP solution. I have Sales and Service Cloud, CX solutions, and people are entering data into these applications, right? The big transaction registers. When people start to think about AI and implementing them, how do they find the problems in their processes? How do they begin tackling this challenge of, we know we want to use AI, but where do we look? What are some pain points that you've seen in customer environments that you would recommend customers kind of focus in on?
I mean, certainly around the CX side, there's the classic demand problem, right? How can I predict my customer's demand? How can I know what my customer is going to want? And there are embedded AI capabilities that CX provides to help you identify that. There are embedded CX capabilities that help you create that, well, personalized email, for example, that will address what you know the customer's issues to be. And it's not just necessarily what's inside the four walls of the SAP solutions. That generative AI can go out and look at, the web, for example, and understand more broadly what the customer needs. So we go from not knowing what they want, not knowing how to address that, to being able to build a comprehensive plan to address their requirements.
And Sheldon, you've been implementing not only on-premise CRM for a long time, but also these new cloud sales and service solutions. You and I, we've played in the lab with the CX AI toolkit. We've installed it. We've demoed it. We've built Joule skills together. When you're entering into a customer's organization and you're working on these sales and service projects, how are you educating them, or what are you asking them to look for when thinking about deploying AI? What questions should they be answering for themselves?
I mean, definitely the first part that I do is education. Right? They need to really understand what are the capabilities that come with these solutions already out of the box. But then I go more into, their process, like we were saying in previous sessions, where we really need to understand their processes and the different pain points that they have in their process. And by identifying those different types of pain points, that's a good starting point for us to, find different types of solutions that could be probably addressed using AI in order for us to solve those problems.
Right. Talking about solving problems and focused on that a statement of expectations, or I'm sorry, this concept of expectations from these customers. I do think they should be expecting more from their cloud ERP and cloud CX. And I want to use the analogy of TiVo. Right? When I first got TiVo, I didn't know I needed it. I didn't know I wanted it. And now I can fast forward through every commercial. But now my kids, they're like, what do you mean commercials? If something's recorded, I should be able to fast forward. Right. Their expectations have increased. What should people be expecting from their cloud ERP and cloud sales solution moving forward? It's no longer just a transaction register. SAP has this amazing cloud ERP offering. In your mind, Ian, what should they expect differently from their ERP in 2026?
Right. So important to not view the ERP just as a system of record anymore, right? It's a component. We talked earlier about the flywheel and how the applications generate data, right? Well, that data can help you get insight into the different processes, whether it's CX related or financial or logistic or whatever. And so once I have that insight, I can layer AI on top of that to help me make better decisions with that data. Well, I can also use that AI to feed back into whatever solution I'm using and improve the processes, right? So if I look at CX or ERP or any of these solutions, I see them as a component in that flywheel that helps customers continue to improve the operation of their business. No longer is it where it starts and ends. It's really where it starts and ends now, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Sheldon, in your mind, when people are deploying Sales and Service Cloud, I should be able to enter a service ticket. I should be able to enter a lead, an opportunity. We get that from a sales platform. What should they also be expecting next year as they look at Sales and Service Cloud? Are there key features that, this is now part of your Sales and Service solution? That
I think the Process Navigator, where I think that feature for me is like, especially on the sales side, where you're able to see, your sales funnel, and you're able to see how the AI already embedded within the tool is already trying to scoring the different types of leads and opportunities that you have. I mean, for me, that is an amazing feature that managers and sales managers are able to use, and it's already available. So it's not something that you need to wait until next year. It's something that you can see already now.
It's part of your implementation.
Right?
It's not
yeah, and you don't have to. There's nothing that you need to enable in order to do that. Of course, with more data, with more leads, with more information that you feed the system, right, the more accurate it's going to be able to do that. Why? Because SAP, what they do is that they look at the different types of activities that you perform, the different types of phases that you are within an opportunity, and with that information and looking at the history that you've had, they are able to better quantify or qualify how that lead should be scored or that opportunity should be scored, right? So I think these are great features that previously we did not have, right? And it's all thanks to AI capabilities within the tools.
Yeah, it's that expectation of an intelligent cloud solution, right? It's no longer just that transaction register.
We're going to start to see agents too, Michael.
Yeah.
Right. Already CX has 5 or 6 that are available. The next step is agent interoperability, where those agents interact with agents in Cloud ERP. They interact with agents in Ariba or SuccessFactors or from other solutions like Salesforce or ServiceNow. And that's more what folks can expect in 2026, not currently available across the board, but ultimately we're going to start to see some efficiencies because those agents will be able to automate those tasks that folks don't necessarily want to do or maybe aren't good at doing. And so just a little bit of vision, I think, is going to be more agentic in 2026 and beyond. For the
audience listening, I mean, what Ian's pointing out is that Joule Studio was released this year as part of SAP Build. So I think, in my opinion, of course, I work on SAP BTP. I work in this world. I do think SAP Build will be part of a majority of customers' landscapes moving forward. Joule Studio was released again this summer, and Joule Skill Builder. Can you maybe spend a minute on, you have Joule Skill Builder, Joule Agent Builder, deterministic, non-deterministic. Can you give us a 2-minute overview on what is the difference between each?
I never thought I would be using the word non-deterministic in polite company, but there you go. So I think you've set it up nicely, Michael. If I look at the Joule Skill Builder, this is where I can create a mechanism for agents to interact with APIs, to interact with the SAP systems themselves. It's a way to create a recurring and predictable interaction for the agent so that I know when I hand it some natural language, it will be able to, call the API properly. When I think about the agent builder, now I'm moving away from sort of those predictable workflow type sequences, and I'm asking the agent to help me with a goal. I ask, the skills or I explain to the skills exactly what I want. I have to think about anything that could go wrong, what the step before was, what the step after. With an agent, I simply provide it with a goal, and the agent then becomes responsible for the planning and action that needs to take place. With the agent builder, I can really go as far as specifying, how I want that agent to behave, what other agents potentially it might want to work with, what business process it's a part of. And that's important because we'll connect into the SAP knowledge graph at that point and have the ability to understand what steps come later, what steps came before, what business objects are going to be involved. So this agent builder really takes me from, predictable, which is great. I want to automate where I can, to those situations where I don't necessarily know the best way to approach that task. The agent will perform that in the best way. Oh, and by the way, the agent's going to learn, right? It's going to learn what the best way to do that is over time and improve its performance.
It's super interesting. Sheldon, you and I recently had a chance to get it hands-on to Skill Builder. And remember, this podcast, we don't have to keep it all roses. We want your honest opinion here. Two-part question for you, Sheldon. One, what was your initial thought in terms of the Skill Builder UI? Do I need to be a developer? Do I need to be a tech head? And if you're on a sales and service project, who's the best user or the developer of a Joule skill? Is it a business person? Is it an IT person? Is it two people in a box? So first question was, what are your thoughts about the Joule Studio? Because you and I were literally hands-on in it last week. And then second part of that question, on a project team, who are you assigning to build Joule skills?
So I felt, first of all, I think it would be important to kind of explain what we built, right? It was a very short lab where we allowed or created a skill so that the agent basically is able to obtain a list of the different types of sales orders that are still in progress, if you will. And then based on those, understand which ones have a block on them because there's a credit block. And based on that credit block, then the agent is able to come back and say, hey, these are the different types of invoices that have not been paid. And then the agent basically is able to kind of redact an email or help the user redact an email so that you can communicate with the customer saying, hey, you need to pay these invoices in order for us to remove the blocks that you have on your open order, right? So that's what we built. And it's something very basic. What we did is use standard APIs within the S4 system in order to retrieve this information. And to be quite honest, I think we had, 60 steps, give or take. If we don't count all the, little pieces, but it was not complex to build. It was very easy. You were also able to kind of define how do you want it to see the output, which I thought it was really nice, right? Yeah. So you were able to say, well, I don't want the agent to automatically generate a text for me when it responds. I want to have it in certain tiles where you could see the different tiles with, this invoice with this order ID, with this customer name, etc. So it was really easy to use. Now the second part of your question was, who should be building these? I think it should be a mix between business and I'm not saying it needs to be a developer, right? You don't need to have development skills. You don't need to be a hardcore developer to do this. But definitely you need to have certain IT knowledge of, how the data structures are in SAP. And if you have a person that is, has that business knowledge as to what they want to build, and they have, I would say, some sense as to what are the data structures within SAP, they can easily create it themselves. Right, so that's what I felt. I really felt it was a great lab and very easy to follow. So I encourage anyone that is listening to us to look at the different labs that we have created in SAP Build, and one of them is the Joule Skills.
Yeah, Ian, same question to you. You're at SAP now, but you were part of it. You worked at implementers as well. In your mind, who are the right team of people to put on a mini initiative or a small project to build and deploy Joule skills?
Yeah, I think Sheldon nailed it, right? It's somebody with that overlap of IT and business skills. And really what we're going to start to see is more of that person with somewhat of an AI background too, right? So now we've got 3 circles in that Venn diagram, but ultimately the goal is to say, this is what I'm trying to do, and then see if AI can be applied to it. And as you think about the skills, right, you kind of back that into what the agents need to get done. And as the agents get that done, they'll need certain skills to be able to accomplish that. So again, you kind of start from the problem and you work your way into whatever tasks you need to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah. Yeah, for the audience that's listening, I mean, Joule Studio, again, is part of that SAP Build license. Exactly. I don't need to buy AI units. I think it's one question we get a lot is, when do I buy AI
Very
units,
true.
when do I not?
Yeah.
For Joule Skills, you do not need to buy AI units. A very simple licensing scheme, and it's applicable to every SAP customer.
Exactly.
Joule Studio, though, you mentioned it earlier. I wonder if you could expand on it. I can build Joule Skills over any OData API, right?
Exactly.
Not just SAP.
Not just SAP. Can build agents that interact with other third-party APIs. I can build agents that can search on a web page, for example, that may have information that I need to have as part of my business process. I can imagine someone needing to understand what the weather is like and how that might impact shipments that are coming from other places. So those are the kinds of skills that you can create with Joule. And again, we envision that you would wrap that in an agent so that that agent can interact with other agents and provide then, again, that interoperability so that the task doesn't necessarily need to be really super well defined to start with. I can simply say, is the weather going to affect the shipments going to this customer, and even propose an alternate routing if that's
routing, or even some sort of a notification to the customer.
There you go.
Letting them know whether it's going to be impacted. So Sheldon, again, I wanted to draw from your experience implementing Sales and Service Cloud, and we know not everybody runs just an SAP ecosystem. So I'm wondering if you could think back, what are some other non-SAP solutions you constantly see or interacting with, and do you feel there will be, at least in the customer experience space, people are going to be open to adopting Joule skills that traverse SAP solutions and non-SAP?
Yeah, I mean, definitely when you look at different implementations that I've been part of, I mean, one of the tools that I really like to implement is SAP CPQ, right? And definitely when you implement a product like that, there's different solutions that you have to integrate that to, like potentially Salesforce or other cloud CRM products. And okay, repeat the question. I got distracted with my cough. Yeah,
Sheldon, quick question for you. Drawing from your experience on multiple Sales and Service Cloud projects over the years, we know that not every customer runs just SAP solutions. Are there opportunities looking back? We know you didn't have Joule 2 years ago, but moving forward, are customers going to be using Joule skills to traverse multiple solutions, SAP and not?
I mean, that is definitely the expectation. I mean, when we do implementations of, for instance, SAP CPQ, where you're integrating it with different types of cloud-based CRMs, you are expecting to be able to, use Joule in order to obtain information from, this third-party CRM, and also the information that you already have within SAP CPQ. So that is the expectation moving forward, right? That we're able to not interact only with the SAP solutions, but also interact with third-party solutions like Ian was saying before.
And go ahead, Ian.
More and more folks are going to be delivering agents as part of their platform, right? We see this with Agentforce. ServiceNow has agents. Of course, we have Joule agents, and the need to interoperate is clear, right? No one's going to adopt a complete end-to-end SAP landscape. And even if they wanted to, there are going to be some areas where other solutions exist that are better, right? And so if you think about it, the A2A protocol was announced in April, and already it has just swept the marketplace, right? Everyone seems to be moving toward adopting that, and we will by the end of this year. And so, yeah, you won't be constrained by having to build every agent in SAP. You'll be able to leverage other agents because that's important too, right? I know some customers will be thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to go out. I've got to build all these agents if I want to interoperate. And the fact is that we'll support A to A and they won't have to. So.
Yeah, I like that. I want to stay on that theme of the user interaction layer. And for the audience, I just want to highlight that you're not going to have a Joule instance for S4 and then another one for Sales Cloud and then another one for Ariba and then another one for SuccessFactors. Right? Joule is that shared environment. So it's a single service that SAP provides. You don't control it. You don't install it per se. You activate it. It's a service provided by SAP. But so I'm in a Fiori Launchpad. I'm interacting with Joule. Ian, what are the other ways that people can interact with Joule? Yeah.
So that's an excellent point. It's not just SAP users, right? So if I'm in Teams or I'm in Microsoft 365, one of the applications that is provided by that, I can use Joule because we have created an integration with Microsoft Copilot. Because a year ago, A to A didn't exist, we got on that pretty quickly and built a specific integration between the two. Ultimately, it is a Copilot engine agent. We've created a Copilot engine agent for Joule. And so if I'm in Teams and I want to ask Joule a question, I can do that directly through Joule. So not only is it across SAP applications, but there are other places in which I can interact with Joule through Microsoft Copilot, for example.
And for me, Sheldon, this is something where, a majority of enterprise organizations are already carrying a Microsoft license.
They are.
And for you and I, though, if I wanted to get an app into the field, I had to build a mobile app. And I imagine on your sales and service implementations, where is this a great thing to be able to extend Joule skills into Microsoft Teams? Is this going to actually reduce the amount of work we do on projects because we're not building one-off mobile apps for sales team members?
Definitely. I mean, we even have a situation where we had to build a mobile app, but where we have this customer, they basically sell coffee, right? And the way that they do this is that they install these coffee machines in all of the different locations that different end customers, if you would, maybe not end customers is the right word, but
is it coffee shops? Is it corporations?
It's more coffee shops, right? So they would go and lease these different types of machines to those locations, and then they would basically sell the coffee to them. And every time something happens with a machine, it needs to be repaired. They need to send people on the field in order to repair the machines, uninstall it, install it, etc. Now, one of the issues that they have is the fact that they need to kind of keep track of the inventory that comes in and out of the van stock, right?
Okay.
So we had to create, because we implemented FSM, we didn't look at other different types of solutions within the SAP portfolio. It was FSM that we were implementing initially, and then this requirement, after we already had it implemented, came to be. They really required the ability for us to be able to do stock transfers from directly the field service agent.
Okay.
Right? If we would have known that from the get-go, we would have not used FSM. We would have used the service SSAM, what they called SSAM. So what eventually happened is that we had to create an app. Now, in the future, what we're definitely looking to see is the ability for us to have the user have the ability to use a Joule to make the request for the transfer order, right? Yeah. Instead of us having to build an app to perform, this stock transfer. So these are definitely capabilities that we would like to start exploring and looking to different customers and implementing it, especially when it comes to field service scenarios.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's a great example. Yeah, because in my mind I can picture the conversation in Joule. Right. I use 16 X widgets, whatever it might be, and it's going to kind of draw it from stock.
Well, actually, the scenario was more like I need to uninstall one of these, coffee machines because something broke on it.
Right.
And now I need to kind of like replace it with another one. But if I look at the inventory, I know that, my colleague is probably 2 miles away, and in his van, he has a machine. But I need to do a van-to-van stock transfer.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's a paper accounting process.
Yes,
the guy in
and
the field just wants the machine.
he just wants a machine. And, we had to build an app, custom built app for, being able to perform this exchange. But in the future, we don't need to do that.
We talk about at SAP kind of the 5 levels of artificial intelligence. And it starts with embedded AI. And we've been talking about some of the useful situations in which embedded AI might be useful. That's the 4th level, in which I don't have to build applications anymore. The agents can use Joule to navigate through applications, get the results that are needed, and then tell me what they've done, right? So that's a little further along in the continuum, but we're going to see that more and more, I think. That's my prediction. But ultimately, we're going to eliminate what we started to call navigation debt, where, every application has been built with a specific purpose in mind, maybe not the best for moving across applications if I'm in that situation, but I'll be able to create the same effect as an application without having to build that application. I think that's significant, and that's really, we're going to see that more and more.
Yeah. I want to talk quickly about, or ask you, Ian, in your opinion, how does SAP view the end user in future cloud ERP releases? Meaning, I come from SAP GUI days, and end user training. They're like, what's a T code?
Yeah.
You're training people on T codes. You're training people how to access these things. And SAP has moved to Fiori apps, and you have the app catalog, and you have your Launchpad. Moving forward, though, how does SAP think about the user? Are users opening apps anymore, or are they just interacting through narrative text?
Sure. It's a continuum and a phased one at that, right? As I mentioned, embedded AI it's there where the user is interacting with a Fiori tile, or probably not, I would say, the Windows native UI, but potentially that could be a place where they come across the AI. The next, we see agents that can help them to automate and to perform tasks more efficiently. The 3rd level is what we call AI native, and that's where we build a new process, potentially from scratch, right? And include AI in that process. So I'm expecting prediction. I'm expecting classification. I'm expecting generative AI in that process, whereas before it didn't exist. All of those will be UI based. But we have a saying, AI is the new UI. And by that, I mean kind of what I was saying before. I'll interact with Joule, and Joule, through the agents that it can designate and orchestrate, will actually go and perform whatever kind of interaction is needed with the line of business solutions, whether it's cloud ERP or CX or any of these, and come back with a response to me. Mm-hmm. It can do that across applications. It can do that to external applications and provide me a single place to go. So not anytime real soon, but probably in the next year to 3 years, we anticipate that the UI will become less and less important. And again, I think it's really significant.
I like, that user experience layer. You talked about the embedded AI, I think level 3. SAP has a product called Document AI that I really enjoy working with. And I believe it can be embedded in the sales order process, where maybe you're a sales rep and you get a PO from a customer emails you a PO. Right. I want to buy I buy from you on a regular basis. I'm issuing a PO. I've sent you the PO. And that salesperson has to swivel chair from email into SAP GUI or SAP Fiori app to create the order. With Document AI, I can just extract the content from that customer's PO and enter that sales order automatically, streamlining the salesperson's processes, reducing human error potentially. And then there's always a human in the loop, right? So that embedded AI, I think, is really cool. Really excited to see document AI embedded into more apps that SAP provides.
Exactly. We call that sort of the fifth level, the no app, in which you'll have an agent that's responsible for accepting these invoices, converting these invoices into something that an SAP application could use, whether it's JSON or something of that nature. And I will allow that to run autonomously. It will come to me with exceptions. And so if there's an invoice purchase order that's not properly formed, well, sure, it'll come and tell me about that. But I would expect that to just kind of run and be autonomous and, provide me with the ability to focus on the exceptions, focus on the relationship, right? Hey, just got this purchase order. Let me give my customer a call and talk to them about it, instead of, spending that 15 or 30 minutes hand jamming it into my cloud ERP system. Now I can focus on what's important, the relationship with the customer, and deepening that.
And Ian, I think it will be important for our listeners to understand. I know that SAP has hundreds of agents already built, but where would they go? Or I think it will be good for you to explain where would they go to see which agents are already available versus, going and thinking of creating one of these agents or skills without, really looking at a catalog. I think it will be.
We were talking about this before, right? Yeah. Some folks will ask you to build a Fiori application for them, not knowing that application exists. So I recommend the SAP Discovery Center. Probably the coolest URL I've ever heard of, www.sap.com/disco. And that will take you there. Number of different filters that you can apply to see what agents are available, what embedded capabilities are available. And ultimately, that could save you some effort. It could save you the headache of trying to design and build something that SAP already provides. Thanks for reminding me of that. I appreciate it.
No, as pre-sales people that are answering customer questions, Sheldon and I spend a lot of time on Discovery Center, looking for things, pricing.
No doubt.
The question most asked is, what's the pricing?
Right.
Discovery Center. But my next question is for Sheldon. All right. How in 2026, I've got Sales Cloud, I've got ERP Cloud, or Cloud ERP, sorry. How achievable is it to have a sales document process from service to ERP be invoiced, and short of a human being involved in the shipping process, getting it shipped, a widget shipped out the door? In 2026, how achievable is it to have a touchless document process between sales and ERP?
So I think we did this also in our labs, right? Don't you remember? We literally did that as part of the lab, where we basically grabbed a image of a document, and we were able to, using document AI, being able to kind of like read the document and then place a PO. So it's definitely something that is doable. It's doable today. We don't have to wait until 2026 to do this. You just need to have SAP built license, a developer license, and then you're good to go. You're good to go and try this out.
I like it. I want to talk about, so we talked a little bit about pain points, right? You have these big transaction registers. I'm surrounded by data everywhere. I have manual processes everywhere. We understand that Joule Studio was released. We understand that these Joule skills can help me, Joule agents being released. Ian, I wonder if you could take a moment and talk about, SAP has a variety of customers that might be listening, sales and service customers, ERP customers, Ariba, SuccessFactors. Who is this AI relevant for?
Everyone. Right. So for a CPG company, for example, supply and demand can be, we can look at supply and demand through the lens of AI and make improvements in that, predictions and that sort of thing. For service, again, I want to know what my backlog is. I want to know about any stuck tickets that exist, and I can have AI manage those by exception for me. Again, handling those that maybe are commonplace or normal, whatever normal is. And then, when I think about manufacturing, there again, I'm thinking about the enormous amounts of data that you mentioned, Michael, that come from an MES, and trying to be able to sort through that data and understand what's important, what's not, use it in my prediction models around maintenance and so on. So really any one of those examples is a great place to start. It depends on where you're feeling that pain in the process. But really it's everyone has, I think, an opportunity to deploy our solutions.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's the message that I think Sheldon and I continue to share, is that AI is relevant for every SAP customer. It is not limited to just if you're an ERP customer and that's it. It is relevant across the board. And we're going to see that with the Joule release for Sales and Service Cloud coming up this quarter, the Joule release for SAP Analytics Cloud. So we're getting that Just Ask capability. I think that's one of the coolest features that I think a lot of customers have been asking for, meaning I'm in ERP and I'm asking about a sales order. I'm asking about a purchase order. That's done and that's there and it's available. But if I want to ask the question, sales by territory by state, that's an analytical question.
Absolutely.
And Joule needs to have access to those data models to get that done. That, of course, is being supplied by BDC. So how does BDC fit into this picture when we're talking about Joule? It doesn't sound like it's required, meaning I don't have to have BDC, but if I want to do those analytical queries, I'm going to need BDC connected to Joule, correct?
Yes. Bad data in, bad AI out. It's the same story that it's been for a long time. And I mentioned earlier that flywheel effect, right? Where the apps create data, the data creates insight, the insight is used by the AI to, again, turn around and improve those processes and applications. Without that data layer, well, first of all, it's going to be really hard to have a consistent semantic model across all of my applications. And we don't expect for folks to move data from one place to the other all over the landscape. Instead, if you have something like BDC, you can use that to create your one true view of the customer, for example, or vendor. And so that is where you get the value from it. It's an integral component of that flywheel, and it's how I can have a consistent view across all of my applications, across my entire landscape of a customer or vendor, for example. So critical, I'd say.
Yeah.
And add, and I guess to add to that is the way that SAP has built BDC, where it allows to not only use the SAP data from the different solutions, and it also allows you to bring in data from other sources.
Yeah,
is
excellent point.
In my opinion, puts SAP in a position that is, very fortunate, I would say, because not everybody has something like that, right? They only have the capability to extract the data from their own solutions, but not really bring it from other third parties. And when you're looking at AI and you're looking to build all of these different reports using Joule, you really need to make sure that you have the data in one place, right? So that, I think, gives you an advantage over others.
What was the question you asked, Michael, when we were talking about this before? Do you want to be good at building data lakes, or do you want to be good at running your business? And that's a question that should really be at the front of folks.
Yeah, and the backstory there, everybody that's listening, was a customer wanted to build their own data warehouse, and they were a manufacturer of products, and we had said, do you want to be good at building data warehouses, or do you want to be good at building your product? And BDC kind of is that accelerator to allow you to activate data products, activate these pre-built data models, and get this reporting out the door. Because that's ultimately, that's one thing, again, to Sheldon's point, SAP is doing a very good job at being open, sharing data with its platform and other platforms, and allowing customers to blend the data more seamlessly, I think is amazing. I read a story, though, from SAP Tech Ed Berlin. I wanted to get both of your thoughts. This is a very nerdy thing, so I know Sheldon will love it. Well, I know Ian will love it, too. But there was a customer at SAP Tech Ed Berlin that shared a story of they run Sales Cloud. They run Cloud ERP. It's a perfect customer, right? And they have a little bit of BTP in there, and they created a mobile web app that salespeople could go on a sales call, and at the end of the meeting, immediately hit a record button within the web app, record their sales notes from that meeting that just happened verbally, and then using the power of LLMs, transcribe those call notes into text, summarize those call notes, and post it into Sales Cloud automatically.
Right.
right? I mean, we all support salespeople here.
Yes.
It's the hardest part of their job is just getting the data into the tool.
Yes.
The context is critical. Right?
I don't know, Sheldon, you know this, these platforms. I mean, maybe what are your thoughts on this?
Man, that's amazing. I mean, most of the time when we do implementations, the biggest hurdle is it's not if we implemented it right. It's not if we have the right processes. It's none of that. It's will the salespeople use it in the way that we need to so that we can get the insights that we want, and making it easy. And I think this for me is really important, because a lot of times when you look at implementations, people think that when you're doing an implementation of products that are, non-customer facing, like what Sales Cloud and Service Cloud are, that, it doesn't really matter, if it looks nice or if it's easy to use. And that's quite contrary. You really need to assume that your customer is your employee, right? And they need to have a great experience using the tool, because if they don't, they're not going to use it. And then you're not going to get the insights and the information that you're seeking when you created that implementation. So finding ways to make it easy on your users to provide or input the information on the system is like the best thing that you could do.
Yeah, it was such a cool idea, and I imagine SAP is going to fit it somewhere in their product line. Talking about user experience and end user adoption, SAP purchased WalkMe. For the audience that's listening, they may haven't heard of that, or they've just heard one or two bits about WalkMe. Can you kind of give us an overview of your opinion on WalkMe, and what is its used for? What's its capability?
It's an exciting new capability that we've added, not quite generally available since June, and we announced it at Sapphire. WalkMe is an adoption tool, so it helps end users, not even from SAP, to be able to get that help at precisely the point in that process at which they need help, right? Not a video for the whole process. Maybe they know the first two steps. Maybe this is, something they do once a quarter or once a year, and they can't.
Or they're backfilling for somebody.
And they can't necessarily remember it, right? So WalkMe was originally designed to help folks be able to use the applications effectively and to eliminate kind of the friction. It's a fantastic change management tool. Well, guess what? You can use the same kind of ability to look at a screen and understand what's on that screen and interact with Joule. And so we call it Omnipresent Joule. Going forward, WalkMe will be able to provide an end user with an idea of what's going on anywhere on their screen. And so if I'm in ServiceNow and I have Joule available, I can take the information from ServiceNow and hand that off to Joule. So for example, if a customer has some legitimate complaint or a question and they've sent that in and I use ServiceNow to manage that, now I can bring that information into CX without having to cut and paste, without having to provide any additional context. That omnipresent Joule is going to let me, again, we call it kind of a UI level integration, but that's going to let me go beyond the steps that I would have to take if I didn't have omnipresent Joule. It's really exciting. I don't think we really even know how much it's going to positively impact our customers.
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to capture statistics on end users that go live and think time, processing time. Do they really understand it? Do they not? How good was our PowerPoint training? And for those customers that may not know that are listening, Joule can be grounded with your business documents. And when I say business documents, that means your project documentation, your training documentation, so that when an end user asks Joule, how do I take a customer off credit hold? It's not just looking at the SAP help, but it's looking at your internal project documentation that you created to train people how to do that. A fantastic capability with the connectivity to SharePoint and being able to point Joule to those documents and allow Joule to be grounded in that information. So today, guys, we talked about some problems. We talked about the turning point, right? This is the release of Joule Studio, the release of Joule, the agent builder coming up. We've talked about who is this relevant for, right? Every SAP customer. Talking about implementation, though, real quick, I did see a demo. I wanted to know if you could comment on it, Ian. I did see a demo of sort of Joule and Signavio and being able to natural language describe a business process and generate a process map for me. When Sheldon and I, whether I'm on an ERP project or Sheldon's on a sales project, I think ultimately what helps us is when a customer defines their processes.
Right.
How is SAP positioning AI to help us define those processes?
Have to understand most customers don't have all their processes defined in any sort of substantive way. And so first and foremost, this just gives you the ability to understand where you sit now. And I think I used the analogy before. If you want to navigate to get where you want to go, you have to know where you are, right? And so that's critical. That foundation that you can create with Signavio then allows you to get insight, coupled with your business analysts, your process owners that can say, oh, yeah, this is where that process breaks down. Once I have that kind of insight, you can compare your process to sort of standard processes that we provide out of the box through Signavio. I can make that comparison. It might suggest a change. Now with AI, as you mentioned, I can say, I'm having trouble at this point in my process. What are some recommendations? Joule will then look at the process and help you understand what you might be able to do differently, might make some suggestions. That in and of itself is enormous, but I can also, at the end of my project, right, I can turn Signavio on and process mine so that I have the ability to see real time, measure real time what's going on with that process, and possibly find issues that I didn't know, especially if I'm adopting a new process because I cleaned my core and I'm using the extension approach. I may have a new process and not really have any understanding of how it's going to act. And so the ability to see that is incredible, right? It's again, not to sound like a broken record, but that flywheel is huge, right? I can use that, and it's a virtuous cycle to continue to improve processes and business efficiency.
No, I'm sure there's a listener that's right now just sitting here thinking, it's too good to be true. I can use AI to define my process.
Yeah.
I can use AI within my process, and then I can use AI on the back end to summarize my process. But it is a reality. It can be done. Right. It does take effort, and we're all here talking about this today because we're just getting started. I mean, this is these software releases are less than 6 months old in some cases, and when it comes to Skill Builder.
Right.
But closing it out, today was all about using Joule and AI to work smarter. Sheldon, in your experience, again, you're coming from this world of implementing CRM on-prem, implementing Sales and Service Cloud, Commerce Cloud. Is there one thing next year that gets you excited for the projects you're working on, specific to AI? Is there a capability that you can't wait to secretly try to get deployed? Is there a secret weapon that you have that you want to try or showcase to a customer? Is there anything that just in 2026 is getting you super excited about what we're working on?
I mean, definitely I am looking to be able to create more skills with Joule.
Yeah.
I think that, going through the learning process and understanding how easy it is to create that and how I can enable customers to use those capabilities within the different types of solutions, that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to. And then, of course, I mean, I like to solve problems, right? So I am looking forward to having conversations with customers so that I understand what pain points they have so that I could say, hey, look, we can solve this with, these capabilities. We can do a Joule skill, or we could create something in an SAP build in order for us to be able to solve that problem for you. So I would say that is really what I'm looking for when we look into implementations into the next year.
Ian, Sheldon and I, we encourage customers to send process leads, project managers, IT managers to Sapphire.
Right.
And I know that's still a ways away. It's in May, but what are the topic areas or the pods that in your mind customers should absolutely be investigating next year? Sapphire has all those pods out there with all the different product experts that you can talk to.
Right.
There's quite honestly, there's 500 of them. Next quarter, what are you encouraging customers to look into, to read about? What gets you excited about next quarter? What focus areas should listeners be thinking about as they turn the page in December and move into January?
Yeah, first and foremost, BDC, right? As you mentioned earlier on, we've built on the foundation that was DataSphere. We've added a number of capabilities around managing data, not just creating models, but managing the data. And as I said, that's a critical component in that 3-part flywheel. So looking into BDC, the data products, how that can affect your business is first and foremost in my mind. Next, I'm excited to see some of this embedded AI that's available now, almost 400 capabilities, hit the market, right? And see what people are doing with that. It's difficult to predict as that footprint grows bigger what might follow from that, right? Hey, this is great, but, and you can see really how folks will begin to think AI first, right? That AI, that embedded process becomes, AI native, and so excited to see that. Ultimately, this Joule skills and Joule agent builder are going to be huge. Every conversation that I have with customers has a small or large component, typically large component, around agents. And, while SAP is delivering agents at the maximum speed possible, customers are going to have unique needs. They're going to want to create skills and agents that are unique to them. Or, we just may not have that agent or skill available fast enough for them. And so that capability to rapidly create a skill, to rapidly design and deploy and test an agent is going to be kind of a third component that I think people should be looking into this quarter, next quarter, and on into Sapphire.
Yeah, my parting thoughts for the listener here, when just thinking about on the topic area of AI, we often get asked the question, why build AI in SAP? Why not build it in Google? Why not build it in Anthropic? And the why for me stems from SAP has an excellent AI data privacy and security policy. SAP knows SAP best, and Joule is a domain-specific model. I think it should just be called that. It's integrated into your identity. It's integrated into your licensing. So building a Joule skill and a user that is an SAP user initiating that skill, you're covered under that user license because their identity is passed to the back end.
Precisely.
So in a prior podcast, we talked about, niche solutions and buying best of breed. I'm not saying Joule is not best of breed. It's pre-integrated. It's integrated in licensing. It's integrated in security. And honestly, I haven't encountered a technical hurdle or roadblock where Joule wasn't able to solve a problem I was working on better than anything else. So my parting thought for the audience is to really do take a look at the AI capabilities of building inside of the SAP ecosystem. It simplifies your security model, simplifies your licensing model, and ideally, it's going to be weaved into these clean core principles as well, and it'll keep a nice clean core for you. Exactly. But Ian, thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. It's always a pleasure. You are our first repeat guest, and we thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure was all mine. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Sheldon.
Thank you, Sheldon, for being a co-host again.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having us.
And thank you to the audience. Have a great rest of the day.